All right, Steve, you're on. Go ahead.
Kate Jackson, this is Steve Jewin from MMA Mania. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good to hear. You've got a very big fight coming up with Ilima-Lei Macfarlane here at Bellator in Hawaii. It's an amazing opportunity for you. How's your confidence level right now?
I'm feeling really good. Finished my last hard sparring session on the weekend and flew out to LA yesterday. So it's just sort of getting acclimatized and finishing up with drilling and strength conditioning out here.
Sounds like you're going to be well prepared then, but you're going into hostile territory because she is very beloved in Hawaii. She's their native son, so how does that feel knowing that you're going to be public enemy number one?
I mean, it looks like the Hawaiians are really passionate fight fans, which is good because at least they're going to appreciate the fight. I don't know if they're going to go out the way to be particularly hostile, but I spent vast majority of sort of the middle portion of my career, maybe middle 6 years, fighting outside of the UK after sort of run out of UK opponents in my weight class. So it's not really going to be a new experience from that point of view.
It's funny you say that because I feel in some ways it's almost the same story with IlimaLei. It feels like she's running out of opponents in her weight class in Bellator, and you're obviously a very strong challenger, but they've kind of hit a wall with how many more challengers she has.
Yeah, for sure. There's obviously I'm going to get her name wrong actually, Velasquez, who I think is fighting on the main card as well. So I think that is a number one contender fight. So, but after that, yeah, there's I think they're going to have to start looking for. I think they've signed some new women actually that may well have the sort of record and the experience to fight at the top of the division. So it's probably not all that bad once you actually sit down and look at it carefully.
You may be right, and you're right about Velasquez and Bruna Ellen having a fight on this main card, so they may find a new contender with that fight as well, but obviously you're hoping to come out of it as the champion and one of them would challenge you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always, especially starting when I did, and not having the opportunities that are available now, I've always sort of looked at it one fight at a time, because at one point there was nothing beyond that. I was just fighting for the hell of it, really. So yeah, the ramifications of actually winning are still fairly secondary to me, I think.
When you say that you were fighting just for the hell of it, obviously at some point you had a passion for it, or you wouldn't have stayed in it for this long to be, a 15-fight veteran at this point. But what was it like when you first started out your career in the UK? Was it just tough to even get fights at that point in your weight class?
100%. I'm kind of second generation still. There was Rosie Sexton, who started fighting 7 years before me, and she was really helpful. But yeah, the start of my career, my first fight, I wouldn't even say I had a firm grasp of the rule set. I was just going in there, and I'd only competed in judo up until that point. So I was just going in there to see if it all worked, if you put everything together, which sounds insane looking at it from the perspective of the amateurs that are coming through now. But it's very much how it was back then anyway.
So I'm going to guess that was your fight with Kate Rennie that you finished in 48 seconds?
Yeah, she was black belt in judo, and I know at the time my coach was worried about her ground game, but I didn't have anything more sophisticated than going in there and hitting her, and then hit her some more. And I think Mark Goddard was reffing that one, and he called a stop to it, TKO, quite early on. And I wasn't 100% sure it was over. I wasn't sure whether he was going to reset us or not, which sounds absolutely insane, looking back at it now. But that was my understanding of the sport when I first started doing it.
Well, it seems like your handiwork with your hands has paid dividends more often than not. 55% of your wins have come by knockout, so it may be the same strategy then here going in for this world title fight.
Yeah, I think, especially early on, I think my record did make me look more as a striker, and it's certainly, I think, when I first started, where I felt most comfortable, but we put a lot of work into my ground game. Got my brown belt at the end of last year. I've competed more times in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu than I can count. And I think last year there are a couple of wins in the IBJJF Europeans. So I'm quite comfortable on the ground, and that's where I expect it to end up. And I'm hoping that we can put on a good show there.
Well, that's definitely going to be where IlimaLei wants to take it, because with her background as a black belt, her 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, 60% of her wins coming from submissions, and some of the nastiest looking submissions that I've seen in any weight class, that's definitely her bread and butter.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely more of a submission element to her grappling game than there is to mine when it comes to MMA. I have an awful lot, at least 40, maybe somewhere between 40 and 50, I think, submission wins in jiu-jitsu competitions. So that ability is there. And it's just a case of, I think we match up well. I think she fought another brown belt in her last fight who seemed to give her the most trouble that she'd had on the ground. So I think that bodes quite well, really. Makes for a good match-up and a good fight.
That's true. In fact, in the Vida Ortega fight, the one you just referenced, it actually ended by a doctor's stoppage when she hit a nice slicing elbow that caused a cut that had the referee saying, no, this fight's over. So maybe if it had continued on the ground, things might not have gone so well.
Yeah, I mean, props to IlimaLei for readjusting on the floor, because I believe I don't know about the judges, but the commentators had her down scorecards in the second round, and that was predominantly on the ground. So she certainly reevaluated and found a way to win regardless. But yeah, I thought that last fight made for interesting viewing.
Yeah, well, it definitely gave you some things you could pick up on, and I'm going to guess that you've probably been scouting her entire library, since her career, her 10-0 career thus far, is all well documented. There's lots of video out there for you to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my coaches are the ones that have watched the bulk of it. I've just watched what they've put in front of me and told me to watch. But I've seen the vast majority of her last few fights. So, yeah, the information's definitely out there.
And if you could, tell me a little bit more about your team. Tell me about the people who are training and preparing you, getting you ready for this title fight. What's the ones that are leading the way for you to take home the gold?
I've been with Concept Gym, my MMA team, since the start of my career, going back, I think, 2008. And Kevin Darrington, my jiu-jitsu coach, same at the time as well. And I've been traveling to Flow Martial Arts in Plymouth to work with sort of our head jiu-jitsu coach and the team there for easily the last 5 years or so, I think. He's the one that gave me my brown belt last year. And the extra sort of work I get in there, and working with a new striking coach there as well has made a big difference.
That sounds good. What do you think is the single biggest improvement that you've made overall, not just in your time with them, but also since your last fight with Lena Ovichnikova?
I think my last two fights have both been almost exclusively on the ground. So the difference in my striking in the last couple of years, I think, is the biggest one. We put a lot of work into sort of the timing and the distancing element of it, and just sort of solidifying my grappling game as well as a brown belt, and the sort of the high level competitions I've been doing, sort of the IBJJF gi and no gi Europeans that I won last year. All of that, I think, made a big difference and given me a lot more confidence.
Well, the confidence was definitely on display in that fight, and the fight with Anastasia Yankova as well. It kind of seems like you almost earned the gimmick of, like, the hype killer, because both the Ukrainian and the Russian fighter, they both had these tremendous followings on social media and were poised to be big stars, and then you came and just rolled right through them. Yeah,
I mean, I was really happy with my last fight. I spent the fight count sort of with my at home with my own teams, and we put a lot of time into drilling to counter. Lena has her jiu-jitsu games based more on like shutting people down long enough to get a stand up, and some of the more old school elements like the headlock, throw, takedowns. So the work I did to pressure out of a lot of the ways she was holding me in that first round so that I could strike her made a big difference. The Anastasia fight, I mean, it was a dominant win, but it should never have gone to decision. That was a little bit frustrating. I feel like I made a bit of a mess of that fight, really. It ended well, but I took the opportunity to train abroad with a friend before that one, and whilst that was a great experience, I think being on my own team makes a massive difference in sort of the ability to predict my opponents and shut them down better.
Well, I guess you weren't the only one that was frustrated, because I heard a whole screaming row of sirens going off behind you, so maybe there were some fans that were like, that was bullshit.
Sorry, is it ruining the audio?
No, not at all. It'll just add a little flavor to the interview. But when do you make that trip out to Hawaii?
I'm flying out Tuesday morning next week. So, I've got a week in LA just to acclimatize and finish off training.
All right. Well, that'll give you plenty of time to adjust for the jet lag and get all set up and feel healthy and on weight. And I assume you're already in that direction right now. You could probably step on the scale today if you wanted.
I could make weight tomorrow if I had to. Today would be pushing it. But yeah, it's definitely not a big weight cut.
That's good. So you're going to be ready for this humongous title fight. It'll be the main event at Neil S. Blaisdell Arena in Honolulu, Hawaii. And hopefully you'll get to enjoy the sights and sounds while you're there, and not just be there for the fight, but get to take it all in. Yeah, no, I mean, the plan is definitely to try and make the most of what I'm doing out here, as well as focusing on the fight. It's very easy to get caught up in the fight itself. So, try and enjoy it as well. Well, IlimaLei has told me before that she and her family throw some tremendous luau's, so win or lose, I hope she invites you to one and you can enjoy some of that feast. Yeah, I have heard that. So I met her in London in June at the when I fought there. So she seems like a really nice person. It's not going to change what we're both trying to do in the cage, but it should make it afterwards more fun. Absolutely, yeah. It's nice when you can get along with everybody outside of the cage, but you're there to win. That's what it's all about. So I hope you do really well in this fight with Ilima-Lei and that it's a very successful event for you. Kate, thank you for the time today.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Yep, and thank you, Dan, as well.